WWE couldn't adhere to the principles of the original ECW, so they just should not have done it. And I think it was a matter of trying to capitalize on the fact that the ECW One Night Stand 2005 did well. ECW One Night Stand 2006, you can tell by watching it, was not original ECW.
They use a WWE ring this time.
It wasn't even that. The fact that there was a no contest between Sabu and Rey Mysterio. We didn't do no contest in the original ECW. No. Somebody was going to win. So, and we knew after that point that there was going to be a new ECW. And you know what my favorite episode of that program was?
What was that?
The last one.
The last one you weren't even part of it.
No, just because it was over.
It was over and done with, and you'd have to look something back on this or anything.
Correct. Yes. I pretend it didn't happen.
Now, sorry about the noise in the back.
But we're at a convention.
I know we're at a convention. Now that you're done with on-screen TV and all you're doing is just WWE.com, and it's pretty much what your job was.
Yep.
How do you feel?
I'm thrilled. I've never been happier with any job I've ever had for WWE Interactive. It's WWE.com. It's our online syndication of that same video on Hulu and YouTube and iTunes. I'm thrilled. I've never been happier in a job. I'm still around the product because I go to all the pay-per-views and Raw on Monday and NXT and SmackDown on Tuesday, and then I go to the office, and I'm from Connecticut, so
it's not that far for you.
No, it's a wonderful job. I get to work with a wonderful bunch of people in the office. I get to learn the business from executive management of WWE, and I expect to have a long and happy career working for WWE Interactive. It's a job that you won't get bored of. Most jobs tend to be a lot of repetition, but because interactive media will continue to change and continue to evolve, my responsibilities will evolve with that. So I'll never be bored. I mean, there was no internet when the original ECW started.
There wasn't. Everything was bootleg, or you had to find out by ear.
Right. You know, when my son asked me, "Daddy, what am I going to be when I grow up?" I say honestly, probably a job that doesn't exist right now. And it's true. There was no internet, so I never would have had this career.
No, that's 100% right. We talk base about everything about how you got into wrestling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We watch pay-per-views sometimes just because of the podcast that we do, so we have to watch them.
Sure.
I remember watching Hardcore.
You sound like you're forced to watch them. Did we have to watch them?
It was a TNA pay-per-view.
Okay.
This is what I'm getting at. It was a TNA pay-per-view when they did the Hardcore Justice.
It's the only one I've seen.
It's the only one
I just saw it, yes.
They praised the shit out of you.
It's some mouth you got on.
I'm sorry. It's like you're God's gift to pro wrestling commentary. That's what they pretty much made you as, though.
I finally watched that show this past week, which is good because I can speak knowledgeably with you today, and I was very touched with the tribute that Tommy put together. I was actually choked up. You know, I miss all of my friends who work there, all of the ECW originals. It was very nice to hear that they enjoyed working with me as much as I enjoyed working with them.
That's very nice, and I have to say, watching ECW as a teenager and growing up to now and being in wrestling, it's just I've only been in maybe a handful of locker rooms, if like a family-oriented place. And there's actually a locker room where I work with Tommy called Hybrid Wrestling out in Ohio, and only being on 2 shows with him, I've learned so much already.
Tommy is willing to teach anybody who wants to know, because Tommy, as a young man, wanted to learn from everybody. And when I was young, I was taught the traditions and the mores and the spoken and unspoken rules of the locker room by Tommy Dreamer and Taz. Not that they meant it to be this way, but Tommy, the good cop, Taz, the bad cop. This is their natural personalities. And I was also taught some by Terry Funk, and then I met Mick Foley. And being able to fit in behind the camera as well as in front of the camera is as important to any WWE superstar or WWE Diva's career. And it's good that you learn from somebody. And I can tell you that right now in our developmental territory, Florida Championship Wrestling, Steve Kern and Billy Kidman and Dusty Rhodes and Norman Smiley and Tom Pritchard do such a good job of instilling respect into these young people. That is a totally different world when they finally come up. These young men and women who come on NXT and are trying to work their way into Raw or SmackDown are so respectful. It is amazing, and I think it's one of the most wonderful parts of our developmental system.
It's completely true, because I've been to tryouts before, not the ones down in Florida, but when Norman Smiley came up to New York, I've had tryouts there and other things, and it's just, everything's respectful. Because what I've known about the tryouts and friends going down there, you're down there for a certain amount of time just because they want to see how you're going to interact with everybody, and they want to see how you're going to be. It's just like, you can have the best wrestling skills that they want, you could be exactly the shape that they want. If you can't get along with anybody, you're pretty much done.
I can tell you that when discussing what talent should be brought up from Florida Championship Wrestling to NXT, there's reports on work ethic and attitude and how adept they are to learning, and then the question always comes up, what type of human being are they? And bad human beings, frankly, are weeded out fast, but character is very much valued if you want to come up in the WWE locker room, especially respect and the willingness to learn.
Now you're talking about respect and the willingness to learn. Two great independent wrestlers who I've seen several times and been on several shows with them because of being in the tri-state area is with American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryanson.
I have to call him Daniel Bryan, and if you notice on WWE.com, for example, if somebody was writing a story about me, they'd start by saying Joey Styles, and then later on in the story they might just say Styles. But because Bryan Danielson has such a name and such a following online, that it's a big exception. If you watch if you read any story that involves Daniel Bryan, it says both first names, Daniel and Bryan. We try never just to use the last name Bryan, because it is so hard to not erase, but it is so hard to re-educate people as to who he is. Daniel Bryan did a wonderful job building himself up as a brand, and as much as we play up the storyline that it was the minor leagues, you know what, 25,000 people in Mexico City and 40,000 people in the Tokyo Dome isn't the minor leagues.
No, that's 100% the minor leagues. And the other person from season 2 is Caval, or as people in our area knows him as Low Key.
Yes, I also have to get used to calling him Caval. I enjoy Caval very much, and you talk about Daniel Bryan and Caval both being internet darlings, as Michael Cole called them on NXT, and he's correct. They both work very, very, very different styles. While they are both underdogs, Daniel Bryan, it's still difficult. Daniel Bryan will take a beating throughout the match, and then if you make the mistake of leaving your arm or your leg out there, he can lock on that lapel lock and get a win, and that's what makes him exciting. You never know where the win is going to come from. Caval is still looking for his first true win in WWE, and he also does a great job of being the underdog. The difference is it's a little harder for him to get the win because he ends matches by stunning you long enough to get up to the top rope and then landing that Warrior's Way. And I don't care, even if you're the Big Show, that Warrior's Way should pin anybody.
No, yes, 100%.
It's just, I don't care that you weigh 170 pounds and you leap that far and bring your knees up to your chest and extend them. It's over. I wouldn't lay down there and let him do it to me, and he's a friend of mine.
Trust me, it hurts.
You've been on the receiving end of that?
It hurts. It depends on what kind of mood he's in.
I've heard that there are people who were difficult for him to do business with and were not respectful, and who took the Warrior's Way a little harder than others, and were still in the ring after Caval left, trying to catch their breath.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Styles, I'd like to thank you for being on.
Please call me Joe.
Joey, sorry. I'm just a respectful person.
I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on.
No problem. Is there anything that would you like to plug, sir, before we leave?
I would just encourage anyone listening to follow the product on WWE.com, and you can also go to YouTube.com/WWE and Hulu.com/WWE. We syndicate our programming online, and please just support WWE by watching Raw and NXT and now SmackDown on Sci-Fi, and we appreciate all of our fans supporting us.
Oh, that's very nice. All right, and thank you once again.
Thank you.